Okay, today we're going to take a quick look at percentage increase and decrease. You should already be fairly familiar with this. It's not too much different than what you've already been doing. So we know that our formula for exponential growth is n equals I times g to the power of t. And we've said before that I means the initial amount. Okay, g means that growth factor. And t means time. Okay, now when we're looking at percentage increase and decrease, we are going to be taking a closer look at the growth factor g, okay, because that's what we're changing by. Okay, so with percentage increase and decrease, that means we're looking at what that growth factor is. Okay, now we can start with some pretty clear examples to make it a bit more obvious what happens here. Okay, so if I said to you that you have 100% and you are increasing by 50%. Okay, so if we have 100%, we have what we have, and we're increasing it by 50%. What do we now have? So that means we now have 150%. Okay, now remember percent means per 100. Okay, so for every 100. That means we have 150 for every 100. So that means we have 150 out of 100. For every 100 things, we have 150 of them. So in order to get our percentage into a growth factor, what we need to do is divide it by 100. Okay, so we have 150% divided by 100 will give us what we need as a decimal, which is just going to be 1.5. Okay, so in this case, if we're increasing by 50%, our growth factor, so therefore growth factor G is equal to 1.5. Okay, it doesn't really change much more than this. Okay, so if we say that we are increasing by 10%, that means G is going to be 1.1. Okay, if we are increasing by 3%, that means G is going to be 1.03. All right, if we are increasing by 200%, okay, so this one looks a little bit harder. We had 100%, so this means we have 100% plus 200%, and that gives us 300%. So in this case, G is going to be equal to 3.0. All right, so this is how it works with increasing. Basically, we're always working around 1. 1 is what we have. We have 1 of something. If we increase it by a certain percentage, we add to that. Okay, so we're adding to 1. All right, it works the opposite way with decreasing. So let's say that we have 100% and we are going to decrease by 10%. Okay, so we had 100. We have 100%. If we decrease by 10, we need to minus 10%. So what we have is 90%. Okay, so that means G is going to be equal to 0.9. All right, so now this is what happens when we decrease. We start at 100 and we subtract that amount. Okay, so if we decrease by 20%, then G is going to be equal to 0.8. If we decrease by, say, 5%, then G is going to be equal to 0.95, because that's just 1 minus, or 100% minus 5%. Okay, and then just divide by 100. All right, if we were to decrease by 2.5%, what we end up with now is that G is equal to 0.975. Okay, so we can go further decimal places as well. So basically this is it for percentage increase and decrease. The important thing is that you know that we always start with 1 and we go up or down from there. All right, so we always start with that reference point of 1. Okay.